Yesterday morning, I found myself staring up at the ceiling with increasing alarm as I was watching these growing patches of damp and water starting to drip through the ceiling and down the walls. So, we have had so much rain here in the last 2 days, and it's been pretty crazy. I wanted to share the story with you because, as with every challenge, there was a gift, and I felt it would actually be quite useful to share it. So, the roof was getting worse and worse. The rain was starting to pour in, and we were putting buckets everywhere and towels everywhere. And then my husband came out with what I guess it's a jigsaw. I'm not exactly sure what the exact terminology is, but said to me, I'm going to cut a hole in the ceiling. I have to, because the water's spreading outwards and we want it to just run straight down. Otherwise, it's just going to cause more and more damage. So because I've learned that I don't always have to manage everything myself and that I can actually sometimes remove myself from stressful situations, that is what I chose to do. This is a lesson I've had to learn because I've always, in times of stress, tended to try and take it on myself. But he was on it, he knew what he was doing, and I found it extremely stressful seeing my roof being sawed open. So I chose to leave, and I came to my friend's house that I'm looking after for the weekend. And when I arrived here, potted around a bit, was unpacking the dishwasher, and it suddenly struck me I should probably start looking for leaks in this house as well. And that was just the beginning of craziness. There was a whole lot of water coming down the fireplace, which had puddled underneath the fireplace. It was like a pool, and then all along the floor, and then coming through the window as well. So I started to move all the furniture very quickly and anything that could get ruined, and thought, let me go grab a mop. And opened the back door, the kitchen door, and it was like a swimming pool. There was a swimming pool outside the back door. And as I was watching it, the level was rising because that's how strong the water was. So I was like, okay, there's nothing I can do about this right now. So I quickly went back, started to try and mop up around the fireplace, and on the way I passed another leak, grabbed a bucket, put that under. That was from the ceiling. Managed to mop up, clean up as much water as possible, and just put 100 buckets, no, it wasn't 100, it was about 7, underneath the fireplace, underneath all the different leaks. And then thought, okay, I need to go see if there's anything else that I have to take care of. And in another room, there was water pouring through the window. Had to move everything away from that window, mop up there. And I'm starting to feel slightly overwhelmed, right? Like, kind of feels like as I'm doing something else is cropping up. And as I'm getting on top of that, something else is happening. And I'm just like, okay. Now, normally, I have always considered myself to be very resourceful and capable, but that meant that I always felt like I had to be. Okay, so there's a difference between I am or can be and I have to be. So this time I debated whether to let my friend know what was going on because I didn't want to stress her out on her time away, but I chose that I would. And I'm really glad I did because she was able to firstly say, don't worry about using towels and doing whatever you need to use. So that was good because it's not my house. And here I am, wetting all these towels, putting them on the floor in places that are pretty dirty. And so that was great. Got a little bit of permission, which I didn't really need, but it's good to have, right? And then I said to her, listen, have you ever had the water coming in through the back door before, through the kitchen door? And like, does it? If it rises to the kitchen door, she's like, we've never had that happen before. And this is an aluminium door that sealed fairly well, but I still didn't know what was going to happen. So she suggested I just buffer that up with towels and things. So I was about to start doing that, and something made me look in the garage. So I opened the garage door, and the front part of the garage and the one side of the garage was full of water. Full, like, I don't know, 10 centimeters of water. And just as with the back door, as I was watching it, I could see it slowly rising. And at this point now, I went into proper stress mode. So I'd been slightly overwhelmed, but kind of managing it. And I went into like real freeze mode, where I just didn't know what to do first. I had taken off my shoes because they were sodden. So I'm standing now in like this much water, in a kitchen in a garage full of electrical appliances, two freezers, a washing machine, a dryer. And I'm thinking, heck, there's a whole lot of water here and all these electrical appliances. Okay, let me first turn off the electricity. Then where are there things that are going to get damaged first? What do I need to do here? And I again, I sent her a message and I'm like, oh, crumbs, like there's nothing I can do. I don't want to panic them. Deleted the message. Then I'm like, okay, I'm really battling here. I also knew that my husband is now trying to do damage control at home as well. So I did phone them because I knew that her husband's very practical, and he gave me he's like, yeah, why don't you turn it off at the wall on the DV board? Told me what to look for, where to do it. And gave me some other suggestions, and that was really helpful. Helped me to get a little bit more directed, right? Okay, where am I putting my energy? And then I just sent my husband a message. I was like, I just don't know what to do. So he said, okay, I'm coming, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to start the car because our car sometimes doesn't start, and I'm just going, come on, man. Fortunately, he could start the car. And he got there, and I'm still trying to pull out whatever I think needs to get moved out of the garage first. So I'm literally doing damage control. And he took his time, walked around the outside of the house, came in, and he said, okay, this is the deal. All the water's running from the next door plot because they just built there. So it was hard packed earth running to where to the side of the house where the kitchen door is, pooling there. And then washing around. And then what had happened, so we got to a point where it then spilled around the house, back down. So it had filled up enough that it had gone slightly uphill, and then it had spilled around a wall and then got back down again, which happened to be the garage, the driveway into the garage. And there was a gutter there that was blocked. And my dear friend had also phoned her father. And so the next thing, there's two very practical men. They happened to be, and I'm not saying that just because they were men, they were practical, but it was amazing. Okay, it was amazing to have them there. And they started to clear up the gutter. And it was incredible because I was standing in the garage and I literally just watched all the water drain away out the garage door. And then they just continued to help me. They found some bigger tubs to put in the fireplace instead of all the millions of buckies and buckets and whatever I had there. And I was able to just breathe. So there was a few things afterwards when I sat with this, because what was interesting was how it had activated for me a state that I think I spent a lot of time in as a child, where I often felt powerless and alone, and the people around me were too busy, or I didn't want to bother them, or I didn't want to upset them. So I didn't ask for help. And then I learned to do that. Or I think I also just realized that people around me were also not coping very well. So I learned to rather just do it myself. And I often couldn't. So I was often in a state of powerlessness and overwhelm and stress. And a big part of my journey from healing from adrenal fatigue and burnout is learning that I can't do it all myself, and that I'm allowed to ask other people. And it took me so long to get this right. Do you know how long it took me to be able to go, I don't know what to do. I'm not okay. I'm vulnerable right now. And to actually share that with other people. And the blessing in it was, in this case, my friend, even though she was far away, was able to ask her father to come around, and he wasn't far away. So she could help me, even though I was trying not to stress her, upset her, because I didn't want her to feel stuck somewhere where she couldn't do anything about it. So my asking paid off, right? And this has been, if I can say one thing, is that just because you are just because you are capable doesn't mean you have to be capable all the time. Okay? Because there are going to be times that you can't do it on your own. And it's really very important to learn how to say you're not okay and to ask for help. And to know that that's okay. to do. It's not a reflection of your worth or your value. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. In fact, some of the strongest people are those who learn when to ask for help and to receive it. And gosh, it's not easy to do. That was the first thing. The second thing I wanted to say to you that struck me about this whole situation was that I was standing there in the garage doing damage control with what was actually the symptom of the issue, right? My husband came along, so I was stressed, overwhelmed. Like, what do I do first? Grab this box, grab that box. And I was actually only dealing with the symptom because the cause of it was that block gutter. And it took my husband, in his state of presence, calm, to be able to walk around the house, assess the situation, because I didn't feel like I even had time to go outside and look what was going on. I just needed to try and deal with the situation at hand in the garage. And he was able to go, that's what needs to be resolved. And as soon as it was fixed, all that water flowed out of the garage. I probably would have tried to keep mopping it up forever and ever and ever because I hadn't, until the rain stopped, because I hadn't fixed the gutter. Okay, so what the heck am I trying to say here? What I'm saying is that I know lots and lots of people who are battling with adrenal fatigue and chronic fatigue, who rely on supplements, who rely on maybe doing a gut heal, like a gut regime to heal the gut and detox the body. And that's a little bit more root than just dealing with the root than just taking supplements. But both of these approaches, and especially grabbing a coffee to perk up your energy, none of these approaches, they're like being in the garage and bailing out the water and trying to rescue boxes, which you're going to keep doing and doing and doing over and over again as long as it's raining. So let's call the rain the stress, right? So when the stress comes, we feel overwhelmed, we feel like we're drowning, barely managing to stay afloat. And we're going to stay in that place as long as we keep on trying to take the so-called quicker fixes. If we do not deal with our nervous system dysregulation and our psychology that is related to that, so usually people who have nervous systems that are out of whack are also people who have belief systems unconsciously that the world is not a safe place, I'm not enough, many things that will feed into why we feel alone, unsupported, and overwhelmed, and why we become very easily stressed and then therefore further dysregulated. Until you actually understand that properly and start to heal the nervous system and heal the psychology behind all of that and why you even got to be in that place in the first place, you're going to be in the garage bailing out water and trying to rescue the things that seem most important and don't even know where to start. I hope that this lands for you. It's okay to receive support and ask for support, but you have to ask for it. You have to be able to say, I am not okay. I can't do this anymore. Sometimes we have to be pulled to our knees with fatigue before we can do that. That's what happened to me. And secondly, then you need to start looking at your nervous system. You need to go right to the root of the issue. Unblock that drain. So that when the nervous system and the foundation of your nervous system is in a much better place, that is when you will be able to tolerate stress so much better. That is when your fatigue will improve so much. And then I think my third lesson is just that in every single challenge, there is always a gift and a lesson if you're willing to look for it. So I hope you can gain some value from this and keep well, keep dry.